why you don't want to say no and how this changes the trajectory of somebody's life drastically. The worst thing that you can do for somebody and their entire future coming up. And which signs are the ones that are likely to do this? I'm Holly from Askhollyhall.com. I'm a master astrologer with a background in education, philosophy, psychology, neurolinguistic programming, past life regression, hypnosis therapy, clairvoyant, and remote viewing. Aries, you don't have a problem saying no. Now, it depends. I do sidereal astrology. And as a Western astrologer, I was in the past, you may be an Aries, but have a ton of Pisces influence. And Pisces have a tendency to say yes as well. So this is not just about your sun sign. You got to look at your ascendant, your moon, your sun, and all the other planets. Taurus has a tendency to be very loyal, but only particularly to what they love or who they love. So if it's a job, then it's what they love. If it's a commitment that they made, the same, such as an event. If it is a person that they hold dear, near and dear to their heart, then there's a loyalty there. The loyalty will almost always have them saying yes to situations where they are kind of overextending themselves. If you've got a lot of planets in the second house, it's the same energy as Taurus. Now, hang in, because I'm going to tell you why you don't want to say no and how this changes the trajectory of somebody's life drastically. So after that is Gemini. Gemini, you don't have a problem saying no either. In fact, most of the time, you're just too busy. I don't have time for this. I've got so much going on and yada, 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 right? But again, you may have a lot of Taurus in your chart, so you may disagree with this. That means yes, or even Cancer in your chart. And that is a segue to Cancer. Cancer, you have a tendency to say yes because, and never say no, because you feel the person's feeling, but you don't really know that. The other person may be a intellectual person. They think with their head. They're fine. There's a part of them that is easygoing, or they just don't get overly emotional or sensitive about things. So therefore, you may be saying yes because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, when in fact, their feelings may not be hurt at all. So you may want to ask that first. How do you feel about it? Use that word, not what do you think? How do you feel about it if I can't do it? Be like, I don't care. I'm good. And you'd be like, oh, okay, great. Leo, no problem saying no. Unless, again, in sidereal astrology, you're a Cancer or you have a lot of Cancer in your chart. So if you related to the Cancer scenario I just did, then you probably have a lot of Cancer, the sign of Cancer in your chart. But Leos don't normally have a problem saying no. It is about they stand on their own stage, they stand on their podium. I am a Virgo, a Western, but I am Leo even though I have Virgo in my chart, I am Leo in sidereal, Vedic, and I do have a problem saying no because of the Virgo side and the possible Cancer rising and also the Libra. So we're going to get to that. But Leos in general, no, you're good. You're like, no problem. Now, Virgos. Virgos is about the guilt, the duty, and the sense of responsibility. The guilt is so dynamic for you that the idea of saying no, it's not about that you don't, you do want to serve the other person. So there's no doubt there, but the guilt overrides it. So it's like, if I just do this, then I won't feel guilty and I have to live with the guilt for days and days and days or weeks for that matter. So to avoid that guilt, or that sense of duty, there's a tendency to say yes often. And I tell my clients that have a lot of Virgo on their chart, make sure that you realize when you go from serving, because they are here to serve, to servant, because you're going to build up a lot of resentment. Remember, I'm going to give you a really good reason. All of you guys that live to say yes all the time, I'm going to give you such a good reason to say no. It's going to change your life. Now, what's next? Libra. Libra, you're always seeing the other side. You don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to rock the boat. You're a people pleaser. So you're the number one. You're the number one person that cannot say no. Power of the pause. You don't have to say no immediately. You also don't have to say yes. Pause before you move on. I always tell my clients, if it's something small, like, Mom, can I have a cookie? Say, just a minute, I'm doing something. And I say, no, you can't have a cookie. It's 4 o'clock. It's almost dinner time. If it's a boss asking if you can take over a job for somebody next week, can I let you know tomorrow? If it's something in between, you just give yourself time to pause and think about it. Most often than not, the person finds their own solution anyways. They're just used to saying yes a lot. Scorpio, no problem. No problem saying no. You do have the guilt factor. There's no doubt about that. But the resentment is so strong that even if you say yes a couple of times, you will quickly learn to say no because the resentment, you can't handle it. It drives you crazy. It makes you mad. So you move on. Sagittarius, no problem. Capricorn, in general, no problem, unless it's a sense of responsibility and reliability. Therefore, if it's a job or a spouse or maybe even a family member that you have a fear around authority with, then there's a tendency to say yes just because you want to appear or you want them to know that you're a responsible, reliable person. Otherwise, you got no problem saying no. Now we've got Aquarius. You're okay. You can say no, no big deal. Pisces, yeah, you have a really hard time. Really, because you just want to get out of the way. You're just like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Yeah. Right. Or you'll just forget. You asked me to do what yesterday? I don't remember that. You're a little daydreamy in your head, in the clouds, and that's okay because you're a very ethereal, uh, right-brained in your heart center. So if you do feel compassion for the person, then you're definitely going to say yes too often. Now, what are the house placements? If you got a lot of planets in the second house, the fourth house, the sixth house, as well as the seventh house, the sometimes the 10th house, and especially the 12th house, you're going to have a hard time saying no. So why don't you want to do this on a regular basis, or at least pause before that? So for instance, it's not just saying no. I can't fire that person. I can't let that person go. I can't tell that person I need to break up with them, or I can't be friends with them anymore. I can't not offer this job to the person or offer something to the person. And the reason is because you are being directed to say no. You're being directed to be a roadblock. Look into your past. How many times have you really wanted something or hoped somebody would say yes, or wish that you would have gotten that job or invited to this function, etc., only to look back days, weeks, months, years later and go, thank goodness that didn't happen. Because if it did, then I wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't have done this, or I wouldn't have met that person. I wouldn't have this opportunity. Give you an example. One of my clients invited one of her friends to a job interview in which she got the job, and she worked underneath the friend, which is my client. It took a few months to get her to let this person go. Well, guess what happened? She got another job. She first of all said, I'd never really liked the job either, but I didn't want to tell you because you worked hard to get me this job. A couple months later, like, oh my God, I got this great job. If you didn't let me go, I would have never had it. And the person who moved into the position said she'd been waiting for this job for 2 years. They're wondering, what's wrong with me? How come I can't manifest? Why can't I get the job that I want? Why aren't they hiring me? How come that person is still in the position? Don't they see how good I am? How far did that domino effect go? Who moved into that girl's position? Maybe they were waiting for that job as well. So you can hold up a line of progress for hundreds of people. It can affect their home life because they're unhappy with their job because they can't move on. It can affect their friends. It can affect their health. Now, I don't want to lay it real heavy on you guys, but when you're supposed to say no for whatever reason, of course, check in with your ego. Make sure it's not out of jealousy or envy or demise or your own personal triggers. Definitely check. The more you know yourself, the more you won't make those kind of mistakes. But if the answer is just no, then it's no. And you will be doing the person, even if they don't know it at the time, the biggest favor ever.